How to fuel to build power and fitness on the bike whilst losing weight at the same time. I speak to a lot of individuals who really struggle to find that balance. Some are cutting their calories or restricting their food so much that when they're getting on the bike, they're then really struggling with low energy levels, not being able to hit the target powers and intensities that they need to on their rides to actually elevate their power and fitness. They're finding that this has just resulted in them really struggling on those rides, low energy, poor quality sessions, which has meant they've seen a plateau in their power and fitness despite the riding they've been doing. Or some have just been then really struggling with their day-to-day nutrition, haven't been quite able to work out a strategy that, as I say, allows them to get on the bike, have that energy, but then stay on track with achieving any weight loss or body composition targets at the same time. So today I just wanted to share with you a few of the strategies that we've implemented in our practice with our clients over the past 5 to 10 years now, working with business owners, executives, busy professionals. It is a challenge to be able to do this when you're running a business or a company or have a very stressful job or lifestyle and all the other things going on there, and being able to try and combine that with training and then actually maximize that training through the right nutrition and fueling at the same time. So let's get straight into it. So what I've done here is, looking at this now, we tend to find that the clients that we work with, they fall into one of these 3 categories or clubs with when they are doing their riding or their training during the day. And this is really important. Just looking at this, the key thing that I want to focus on here is that we use the training structure, or actually when it is that you're training in the day, and then we work back from there to identify the fueling strategy, or really what I just really want to emphasize here today is the meal, where we're going to place that emphasis with the fueling, so that when we come to get on the bike at these times, depending on when it is you train, you have got the right amount of energy there to get on, have a really good training session. Certainly if you're doing any threshold or VO2 max quality interval sessions, you're going to need to fuel those, as I just mentioned, so that when you're getting on, you can hit those target powers and intensities. You can accumulate the time within those zones to target those energy systems to actually then really elevate that. And that's then going to allow you to climb faster, improve your endurance, whether that be for any events, sportives, trips you've got planned this year, also in your general weekly club riding, social riding, but also just for improving your health. If you're going into your VO2 max sessions and you're actually fueling those better, you're going to be able to elevate that VO2 max. Improving your VO2 max is associated with really just improving those health benefits as well. So key thing here, we'll break down the 3 here. So many of our clients who we work with, as I say, business owners, high-level executives, busy professionals basically, a lot of them have to train at 5, 6 o'clock in the morning. And out of the 3 sessions that I'm going to go through here today, this is probably actually the hardest one to fuel. Because if you're getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning, or you're getting on the bike itself, actually on the bike at 5 a.m, you're probably getting up at about 3:30 or so. Trying to eat anything or fuel with any sort of sufficient amount of food at that time is really hard. And you're not going to be getting up even earlier, because sleep is actually going to be more important for performance and recovery and just general health. So the key thing to look at here, as I say, is we want to work back. So if we're getting on the bike at 5 a.m, the focus for our fueling, or where the focus for our fueling should be for a 5 a.m. training session, should be the PM prior. Okay, so let's just say we're doing our session on a Wednesday morning. We want to ensure that we're having a sufficient amount of carbohydrate, the PM prior, so the evening prior, during your evening meal. And this is actually a lot easier time to focus and get that amount of carbohydrates in, because you can do that as part of your evening meal on the Tuesday. If you also have to eat with others in your family, or whoever that might be, a partner, children, just others who you live with, or wherever that may be, it's a lot easier to have a higher carbohydrate meal with others of an evening. That might include some pasta, some potatoes, some rice, just some carbohydrates in there. Okay, certainly if this early morning training session is going to be a high intensity interval session, it's going to include some threshold intervals, it's going to include some VO2 max intervals. You want to top up that muscle and liver glycogen overnight. And then from there, when you're getting on the bike, you would have had a good amount of carbs to be able to get on the bike and really hit that first interval with some good energy in the legs. The average amount that I would target here is just make sure you're having a minimum of 1 gram of carbohydrate per kilo of your body weight as part of that evening meal. You can also split it. As a little hack that I just want to share here is what you can then do, because it's quite a long time then to go from the Tuesday evening to the Wednesday morning. What you can do is have that evening meal with some of the foods that I've just mentioned there. When you then wake up in the morning, I mean, give or take, this might be, you train at 6 o'clock in the morning or 7 o'clock in the morning. You can then just have a quick snack before you get on the bike. So if you wake up, you might have a quick cup of coffee, quick espresso, whatever it is you drink in the morning. And with that, you might just then have another little hot carbohydrate snack, whether that's an energy bar, muesli bar, a banana, piece of fruit, just something else that's got a little bit of carbohydrates in it. Some of the things I mentioned there, bananas, energy bars, they probably range from about 20 to 25 grams of carbohydrates. So that allows you to make sure that you're hitting that 1 gram of carbohydrate per kilo body weight as a minimum from the evening prior by the time that you get on the bike in the morning. Okay? And then from there, you can just transition into your during ride fueling. As if it's going to be a high intensity interval session, I'd advise that you do that within fluid form. So just put some carbohydrates in your bottle, because if you're doing any threshold or VO2 max intervals, you're going to be sweating, your breathing rate's going to increase. Trying to eat anything or taking on any really heavy gels can actually probably cause some stomach discomfort. So move straight into some fluid carbohydrates, and you can then get on the bike and have a really good quality session. The only change that you might make here is you might remove this snack if you are doing any fasted riding. Okay, fasted riding can be good, certainly for weight loss, certainly for improving that fat adaptation with your training. Okay, so the only difference here, if you're doing that, you might remove the snack in the morning, so this does effectively become a fasted ride. But as I say, if you're looking to improve your power, your fitness, your FTP, your VO2 max, then you're going to have to perform some VO2 max intervals, some intervals that are above the anaerobic threshold, and the key fuel source for that is carbohydrate, and that's why it's really important that you are having that pre-snack and then some carbs during the ride if you are doing any of those types of interval sessions. Okay? So that's the 5 a.m. club. If you're in it and you haven't been doing this and you've been struggling with energy, then target that evening meal prior, have that snack, go straight into during ride fueling, and that should really help you get on there and have a good quality session. Even if you're trying to lose weight, you can still have carbohydrates. It's key. Next one then we go into is the 12 p.m. club, the lunchtime club, if you like, if we call it that there. So some of you, again, you might not be able to train early in the morning, you might not be able to train in the evening. The only free hour that you might have in the day, or hour and a half or a couple of hours by the time you've done your training session, might be at lunchtime. So again, if you've got that training structure, that's the great thing about actually having a training structure, laying your week out, is if you know when you're going to train, yes, things do crop up, and sometimes you might have to move a lunchtime session back to the evening, or you might have to squeeze something in the morning because you know that the rest of the day is going to be out. But if it's lunchtime, then the key pre-meal fuel or the pre-ride fuel that we want to be targeting is breakfast. Okay, so this is actually a much easier session to fuel because you can wake up, you can have your breakfast. That might be some granola, it might be oats, porridge, wholemeal bread, toast, muffins, lots of different things out there. Something you can grab and go. I know, porridge pots and things. If you're somebody able to travel into the city, you might be able to grab something and just have something on the train there. There's lots of different things that you can have, what works with you. Muesli, granola, lots of different things there. Have that at your breakfast. And then again, because we need to bridge a bit of a gap here, much like we had to do from the evening prior to actually getting on the bike in the morning, breakfast, if you're eating that at around 6, 7, 8 o'clock in the morning, to coming into doing a 12 o'clock session at midday, again, that's quite a long period. So what I would advise you have your breakfast at that time, but then at around, should we say, an hour, hour and a half before you get in on the bike, so maybe 10:30, 11 o'clock, that's where you'll then have your carbohydrate snack again. That might be banana, energy bar. You may even have a gel or something. If you use gels, just a quick, hour before a hit of a gel, that can really help you. When you're actually getting on the bike for that lunchtime session, you're really fueled well. You can do the session, again, go straight into during ride fueling. As I advised earlier, I would do that in a fluid form if it's for an hour to an hour and a half interval session. You're staying on top of your hydration. You've got that constant flow of carbs coming in. You're not having to worry about, when you're in your recovery periods between VO2 max intervals and breathing rates really heavy about trying to eat an energy bar or something. You can do, focus on the solids beforehand, move into the sort of more fluid-based stuff if you're doing any intervals, certainly for it there. And then the final example is our evening session. So again, a lot of our clients, they have to train at 6, 7, 8 o'clock in the evening when they're getting in from work, some who may have children, when the children have gone down to bed. So your focus here will then be around that lunchtime. And again, this is probably an easier one to fuel than the 5 a.m. session because you can try and have some lunch. So whether you're on the go, whether you're at home, pasta pot, some rice, tuna pasta, chicken pasta, it might even just be a baguette with some wholemeal bread, jacket potato, lots of those foods that I've just mentioned there. There's, many restaurants, sandwich bars. You can make your own things like that if you're working from home. If you're in the city, if it's grab and go, there's the supermarkets now, do lots of like pasta pots and things there. They're all going to be really good sources of carbohydrate. It's not going to take much time to prepare. You can eat that even if you don't get a lunch break and you're having to work at your desk or still take calls or something. You can just have that pasta pot there at lunch, something that's high in carbohydrates. And then again, we need a bit of a bridge, the snack, because from lunchtime, 12, 1, 2 o'clock, whenever you take your lunch or manage to just grab some lunch if you're having a really busy day, to actually then getting on the bike in the evening, is quite a long time. So again, you might have that sort of, 4, 4:30, 5 o'clock, depending on when you're getting on the bike. That snack again, the banana, the energy bar, the gel, may even be just coming in and having a slice of toast, from when you get home. Something that's just got a little bit of carbohydrate. Ideally, 15, 20, 25 grams just to top yourself up an hour, hour and a half before you're getting on the bike. You can then go and do your evening session. Again, move straight into that fluid carbs, and then you can follow up with your evening meal after. Okay, so 3 examples, 3 clubs there. For you might not always be in one club. As I say, you might find that, okay, you were meant to do a session in the morning, it didn't happen, you were meant to do it at lunchtime, you then had to do it in the evening. But hopefully that's just giving you a bit of a structure there. So many individuals that I speak to, they struggle with, okay, yeah, this is when I'm training. When is it that I should be then placing the emphasis on my fueling to get on the bike. And just on the weight loss side of this, a bit of an extra tip here is if you've identified what your BMR is, your basal metabolic rate, and you know, right, you're trying to lose whether it's 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 kilos, which a lot of our clients we help do that average amount or average of 10 kg while adding 25 to 50 watts to the FTP. And so these are the strategies that we use. First, we identify what the BMR is. We then identify, okay, right, what time are we training? What days are we training on? And once you have that in place, it's then a lot easier for you to actually include these meals in that BMR plus the calories that you'll be adding to that on a training day, for example. Okay, so, and then after that for a day, you can say, right, these are the amount of calories that I've got left. Yes, these meals do want to include carbohydrates. You can still eat carbohydrates and lose weight. There's a bit of a confusion out there. I'm speaking to a lot of individuals at the moment that carbohydrates make you fat. If you eat carbs, you're not going to lose weight. Yeah, I know it works, trust me, okay? There's research out there that shows it. I've worked with over 500 individuals now who have helped lose 10 kilos whilst improving their FTP at the same time by 25 to 50 watts using these strategies. It's just knowing when to use the carbohydrates in these meals at what time to be able to actually then get on the bike and have that energy, because you're going to need them to fuel those anaerobic type sessions to lift the power. For the rest of the day, you can then lower carbohydrates. So if you've had, let's just say you've done your 5 o'clock early morning training session, you've had a heavier carb meal the night before, you've done your training session, for the rest of the day, you can then focus on more higher protein foods, higher protein sources, 1.5 grams of protein per kg of body weight. For the rest of the day, include that in your meals there. If you can get those protein sources in, I won't go into too many details on what they are. Generally protein, your meats, your fish, your dairies. If you're vegan, there's lots of other, vegetarians, there's options out there, beans and things as well, which can get good protein sources in. But just focus on the rest of the meals for the day, higher protein sources. Lots of fruits and vegetables, also really high in fiber. That's going to help you feel fuller for longer as well with that protein too. Okay. Same here. If you've done your lunchtime session, you've had a higher carb meal at the start of the day, reduce carbs down after you've done your training session. Focus then after lunch on higher carbohydrate sources. So for an evening meal, if you've trained at lunchtime, go high protein. And then the same here. If you've had a higher carbohydrate meal at lunchtime, it's been quite heavy, it's had some pasta, some rice or some bread in there, that's fine. You're going to need that energy for that session. If you are then eating your dinner or having your evening meal after your evening training session, have a high protein meal, well-balanced meal, some good meat, fish, something in there with some fruits, some vegetables, salads, or lots of those things, high fibered foods to get that protein. And that's also going to really help with recovery and then prevent any late night snacking or anything after there as well. Hope you found that useful. Some strategies there when you're training, the main meal that you want to focus on prior to that training session to ensure that you're getting on the bike and you've got that energy. If you found this useful, please drop a like on the video. If you're new to the channel, Ben from My Cycling Coach, why do I make these videos? I've been doing this now for the past 10 to 15 years, working with individuals like yourselves. If you're watching this, increase that power and fitness whilst balancing losing the weight at the same time. If you're new and you found this useful, please subscribe and I'll see you in the next video.